Alright guys, welcome to another weekly outlook video. We're just gonna jump straight into it in this video. So let's begin with the dollar index. When we look at dollar, last week was actually a very tricky week to be trading. To have traded the dollar, not to be trading, but to have traded the dollar, even though eventually everything we got the rejection that we were looking for. So if you remember my last weekly outlook video, I was mentioning how this weekly BC could be a possible draw on price for price to continue higher to those buy side, those highs, or specifically 112 on DXY. So I looked at that possibility, but at the same time I did mention that on the daily time frame we have an order block with a fair value gap, which is that rejection block on the weekly. So right now, looking at the daily time frame, looking at this BPR, right, it's actually crazy how many fair value gaps were overlapped. So we got this fair value gap to the upside, we got this one to the downside, we got this one again to the upside. So literally overlapping fair value gaps, making this a BPR and making me think and believe that we could see higher prices from this area. At the same time, we have relative equal lows that are basically where the weekly fair value gap is with the order block. So we should keep those 2 points in mind, that we have relative equal lows that price could reject down to, and we have this fair value gap that price could go up from. One key thing to note here is that the Thursday's high was actually, we actually closed above it, right? This indicates obviously higher prices. So now when we go down to our hourly time frame to see the previous week's price action, we can see there CPI made the low of the week. I actually wanted to see this new order block that was created to hold for higher prices, right? We created a bullish order block when CPI raided the sell side liquidity and tapped into the higher time frame PDRA while immediately coming out of it. So that liquidity sweep alone to me is a significant thing to note, because it means this order block becomes higher probability, right? So when price came down to it, I was bullish for the rest of the week. I wanted to see these highs cleaned up, all these failure swings, right? I wanted to see all of them cleaned up. And then we went into this weird consolidation profile. Friday came along, unprovoked, without anything whatsoever. I believe it was Donald Trump, but according to the calendar, nothing really happened here. But somehow we came and manipulated the high, clearing these relative equal highs up here, creating another high with it, then ran all the way to the sell side and took these relative equal lows, these local lows here, before rejecting again at the end of the day to the upside. So now we have closed above the initial CPI order block, right there. We are now trading above it. At the same time, we are now creating bullish inefficiencies that are being supported for higher prices on the 1 hour. So right now, I am expecting a continuation higher. Maybe we could take the previous hourly candle low, but beyond that, I'm not really expecting much pullbacks. I'm looking for an expansion week this week, going to the buy side liquidity. So that's my view and my expectations on DXY. When we move over to GBPUSD and euro dollar, we can see I was expecting the opposite here, right? The first thing that I mentioned on the previous weekly outlook was that I wanted this order block. I literally told you guys, if price came to this order block, I would look for a 1 hour change in the state of delivery to sell euro dollar, right? And we actually came to the order block. I remember I made a video on the channel, I think. Yeah, on the weekly outlook video, actually, I made a video where I was showing this specific type of order block, but I think I showed or demonstrated how it played out on NASDAQ on the 15 minutes chart, if I'm not mistaken. It was on the 15 minutes chart that I was showing and demonstrating how this order block played out, this type of order block played out. So yeah, we have the same idea on the daily. So I went to the hourly for a confirmation. When we go to the hourly, it was a very clean price action to the upside, right? We got a clean market maker buy model to the upside when price was rallying to the upside and cleared these relative equal highs. And immediately after clearing those highs, we displaced down, creating a change in the state of delivery. And I'm now expecting this CPI candle to act as a bearish order block. So when price came up back to it right there, I was bearish. From there, I started selling. So the first target, of course, would be these relative equal lows. If we go through that and get excited, we could find price going to the sell side liquidity. And then if we go through that, I'm looking at this 1.01 psychological level. So yeah, price again, just like the dollar, meandered around, didn't do much, literally just chilled around, and then whatever happened there on Friday happened and price came back down again. So right now, if we are to continue lower, I would assume and want to see this high that was swept over there during the shenanigan that was happening on Friday to be the last sweep of liquidity. In other words, if any of you sold this order block, right, having that high as a stop loss, I would now be moving my stop loss to this new high, because if we go through this high, in my mind, there's nothing else left besides buy side liquidity up there, which is basically CPI high. So I am bearish on euro dollar going into the week. I don't have any high time frame PDRA that I could say is significant to use for lower prices. I would say maybe wait to see if this fair value gap, this bullish one, could be disrespected. If and when price closes below it, you could look to use it as resistance for lower prices, right? Of course, I'm looking for hourly entries. I'm not looking for anything on the M15. I'm not looking for anything on the M30 or anything like that, or not even the 5 minutes. Unless you're an intraday trader, you see a perfect structure, then of course, nothing should stop you from taking your intraday positions to sell. But I really think these equal lows are next in line. We could turn bullish, and that could happen at any point in the month or quarter. But of course, before that, I'll obviously let you guys know when I'm expecting the direction to change. So for now, I'm bearish at least to these equal lows. Beyond that, we'll see. All right, this is a possible area of reaction if we are going to turn bullish from there, because if we remember, we still have those relative equal highs up there waiting for us at some point in the future. Even though right now my eyes are at 1.01 right now. When we go to GBPUSD, we can see exactly why I'm looking for a possible buy in the future. We have those equal highs that CPI's news release didn't actually take out, right? So we still have those highs waiting for us over there. But to the sell side, we have this low resistance liquidity run that price has not taken out yet, the low that price hasn't taken out. Then of course we have this sell side liquidity from a high time frame. I'm not going to show it in this video because there's no point if you've already watched my previous videos. So yeah, that's what I have now for the dollar majors. NZD USD was something that I had on my radar, and I might bring it back just because yeah, it's still very bearish for the same reason, the same PDRAs, the same structure. Nothing has changed whatsoever. I just looked for a reaction from that gap, displaced lower, and then I wanted to take that order block. Of course, you can see I got stopped out at break even because I trailed my stops. I didn't keep the original stop loss at the high of the order block. If you are wondering what this entry model is, I did make a video on it. I'm probably gonna link it in the description or put it somewhere up here in the corner, and the video should be titled something like the only entry checklist you would need as an ICT trader or something like that. So yeah, I wanted to enter this trade for a nice solid 4R, which obviously would have been nice if I was still in it, right? Because yeah, it's already displacing away, and I think it's almost given 2R. But the problem is that I trailed my stops to break even, so I got stopped out at break even. I would have to see if it gives me another entry. If it doesn't, I'm not gonna chase it. I'll just leave it to play out however it does. We have the same idea on AUDUSD, but I'm not going to take AUDUSD because of the very bullish structure it has. So moving forward to the indices, I have NASDAQ as the first thing on my list. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the indices overall are a bit sketchy for me right now. I'm not going to lie. I can frame both sides of the market, and I don't like when that's the case, right? First thing is first, on a high time frame, I am watching these relative equal lows. We just made a low right there and engineered another liquidity, making last week to have Monday as the low of the week. It's not something that's impossible, but it's something that's very rare to see, right? So I really thought that price was going to respect this gap and then push down to clear the relative equal lows, but of course we didn't. We instead used the same gap as an inversion fair value gap. If you look, you would see that the very next candle came, tested the same gap, and then just literally took off in the next day. So yeah, right now I could say, who knows, the market could get very dramatic and collapse, clearing those equal lows. We have many sell side liquidity that's been waiting for us ever since, or price could just continue higher to make new all-time highs after doing a 3-drive sweep over here. So we got one sweep there, then of course reverse. So where would we even go up from? I don't even know. I honestly don't even know. I'd have to watch my lower time frame to see where price could go to next, right? We could use this order block if price comes down to it. We could look for a lower time frame shift to buy this up. We could use this tiny fair value gap right here. We have a very tiny BC that price could come down to, then push up. Who knows? Like literally so many things. Of course, if we remain bullish, I don't even see where price could reject from. Even on lower time frames, I don't really see anything too clear besides the bullish fair value gaps, right? So if we're gonna be bullish and we're looking at this 4-hour chart, we can see the price already rejected from this gap. So in my mind, I would be looking for something like this order block as an entry, coupled with this very bullish fair value gap over here. So if I'm bullish, we could look for price to retrace down here, then give us a lower time frame shift like an M15 shift to buy NASDAQ to complete this market maker buy model, right? But I am still somehow leaning towards bearishness. I don't know why I can't let go of those equal lows. I still feel that one of these weeks we're just gonna get a very bearish week where catching the move might be very difficult. The same idea goes for ES. I was bullish on Friday. I wanted to see us clear the buy side liquidity, but price never even gave me the opportunity to participate in the move, right? So we had this order block here with a fair value gap, but as you can see, price closed above this fair value gap here, the premium one, and then used it as support for higher prices. It literally did not even retrace at all or give me any opportunity to buy. So yeah, we could see that buy side liquidity being next, but at the same time, look what we have. Perfect equal lows, right? We have a low there and a low there that's exactly 5797.5. On Monday of last week, we pushed down intending to clear that low only to make another low. So that's the third low. It's not perfect. The third one is not perfect, right? But it's another relative equal low that could be used as liquidity for later in the future. Again, I do not know what's going to happen. We could just continue grinding new highs and pretend those lows are not even there, right? Or price could just collapse one day, clear the lows, then immediately reject quickly to the upside. because that's a very big possibility. So right now, if we're gonna be bullish, that's my next target right there. If I look at the 4-hour time frame, as we did on NASDAQ, I would expect the same thing. So we even have an SMT divergence. Remember, NASDAQ tapped into this 4-hour gap. Notice how we didn't even do so here on ES. So that's an SMT. That could have been the indication for higher prices. I didn't notice it, I'm not gonna lie. I did not notice the SMT divergence there. We got an SMT, price pushed up, came back in this exact candle, tapped the inverted gap, then continued higher to the buy side liquidity. So yeah, that could have been the move, but I did not notice. We can't catch everything, right? We can see everything. So now I'm looking at this gap here that's been inverted, this massive bearish gap from the 4-hour perspective, coupled with this area that's aligned with another bullish gap. So we have a mix of different PD arrays here that price could use to continue higher. So if we're going to continue higher, I could watch this area and look for lower time frame confirmations like SMT, CSDs, and yeah, breakers to enter for higher prices. I would not take it blindly, but that's what I'm looking for. That's if we're going to be bullish. If we're going to be bearish, I'd like to see price completely disrespect this swing low. If we can displace lower, closing below this swing low on a 4-hour perspective, then I'm expecting the equal lows to be cleared next week. That's the condition that I have for that. And yeah, that's basically all. If you have any questions, please do let me know. If you have any inputs, if you have any disputes, if you have any ideas different from what I just shared, even if it's the same and you just support it, just let me know in the comment section below. If you find value in this in any way whatsoever, of course, please let me know by subscribing and leaving a like in the video. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, just a little bit of your time. All right, so yeah, that's all I have for now. Cheers, bye bye.